Hello, everyone. Welcome to Concordia University's Fourth Space. Thank you for joining us for today's event, movie screening and an open conversation, titled Our Kids Online. To help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube live from Fourth Space, and we are located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Here at Fourth Space, we work with our university community to mobilize knowledge by co-creating daily activities that help examine research questions, projects, and development here at the university. And we're running today's event as a live stream meeting, so we welcome your comments and questions with a raised hand or via the chat if you're joining by Zoom. If you'd like to participate in the space, just let us know. We'll get a microphone to you. With that, it'll be my pleasure to pass this to Azfar Adib, public scholar and doctoral candidate in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Concordia University. But just before that, we're going to play a short video welcome from MP Mark Miller to start things off. One moment.
Hello, I want to extend my greetings on the occasion of World Children's Day. It's amazing to see Concordia University leading the way in addressing the critical issues of children's online safety and age verification. In an era where technology and society intertwine, these topics are of utmost importance. I'd like to acknowledge Concordia's dedication to raising awareness and seeking solutions. Let's work together to ensure a safer digital environment for our children. Thank you, and have a wonderful World Children's Day.
Now it is my pleasure to pass it to Azfar. Azfar, over to you. Welcome.
Thanks, Douglas. Good afternoon, all. It's so good to see so many known lovely faces here today. Thank you so much for joining us. So my name is Azfar. I am a PhD student here at Concordia in electrical engineering. Also, I am a public scholar for 2023 and 2024. And this event is part of our Spotlight event, which we are doing all through this week. We started yesterday on the World Children's Day, and today our second day, and we are having more events coming up. So today, actually, I am feeling a little bit relaxed because I have a wonderful host today here to help me out. And she's none other than Rafaela Diaz-Barresley. So tell a bit about Rafaela. Back in 2020, Rafaela founded Stop Exploitation Hub, Arrête Exploitation Hub, which is a not-for-profit and which has been strongly advocating for children online safety. So for the last 3 years, Stop Exploitation Hub has regularly arranged protests outside the mining headquarters here in Montreal, and they have been doing a lot of other activities. And actually, I guess that's how we first came in touch by the end of the protest. So now and Rafaela is a student in the Masters of Drama Therapy here at Concordia. So it's my pleasure to pass over to Rafaela, who will run the list of the events. Thank you.
Thank you, Azfar. So welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm really excited. Yesterday, it was a wonderful panel discussion and kick things off. Today's a little bit more informal. We're going to be watching a documentary. We're going to have 2 speakers introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about the work that they're doing. And then we're going to facilitate a more open discussion, a conversation about the documentary and the work that these 2 women are doing. So I'm first going to introduce Indra. Indra is the president and CFO of Digital Movement, an award-winning Canadian charity mobilizing communities to build a better future through digital education. Indra is passionate that digital skills education must be inclusive and equitable, and that youth voices are imperative in the conversations around technology, specifically around artificial intelligence. Her interest in the digital skills movement was sparked by the realization that our education systems were not preparing youth for the digital future. So I'd invite Indra to come and share a little bit about the work she's doing.
Thank you, Rafaela. It's great to be here and to see people in person and also with people online. So as Rafaela said, my name is Indra Kubicek, and I'm the president of a Canadian not-for-profit organization called Digital Moment. Previously, we were known as Kids Code Jeunesse, so you may have known or heard of our organization. The organization was started 10 years ago, and at the time, it was created with the idea that kids are not being educated around coding and programming and these new technology skills that they're going to need, not only for jobs of the future, but also for their own aspirations and anything they want to do as digital citizens. And over the last 10 years, I would say more and more people have joined the movement. So I got into this space around 8 years ago. The founder started it, Kate Arthur, and I joined her on this journey shortly thereafter. And I would say one of the things that's the most important to us right now is the space is changing so quickly, and even what we started the work around, coding, etc., is not the only thing that kids need to be educated on anymore. So this was part of the reason where we've expanded our focus, not only from programming and coding, but now very much to focus on artificial intelligence. And not only do we want youth to understand what this technology is, we want them to really be creators rather than passive users of technology. So that was kind of the essence around where the work started. We are funded by the federal government. So the innovation department is a partner of ours, ISED, and they came forward with a program called CanCode in 2017 to help fund not-for-profits to bring these necessary and important services to the education systems. As we know, education is not federal, it's provincial, and so it takes a lot of work to work across Canada in this way. And so our focus is really first around training teachers and giving teachers the confidence and the capabilities to be able to have these discussions and go into their classrooms and to teach youth themselves. So that to us is a sustainable model rather than just us alone going into classrooms. We need to be giving teachers these tools, and these are not things they're getting through their own professional development without organizations like ours. We also work directly with kids in classroom and outside of classrooms, and it's really important to us, as Rafaela said, that we create a more equitable, we even the playing field here as we move forward, and we create a more equitable space for everyone to be included in these decisions. As we know, with the fast movement of artificial intelligence in the last year or so, since the introduction of ChatGPT, there are people making decisions for all of us around the world, and they don't come from all of the backgrounds and don't have all of the lived experiences that we need to be taken into account when we're making decisions around how we use artificial intelligence. In particular, we focus on girls. So this is a big part of our work, is to ensure that young girls are part of the future of where technology is going, that they are introduced and exposed to women who are already in these professions, and we balance the playing field for all of the young girls in Canada, as well as all groups who are equity deserving communities who have not been involved in conversations up until this point. I can maybe, on sharing sort of the impact we've had so far, we've reached over 700,000 youth across Canada and 22,000 teachers. So we run a national program. We partner with corporations, we partner with government, and we partner with other not-for-profits to do the work we're doing and to reach all of the youth. I could obviously talk more after the film, but I did want to share a little bit of sort of where our focus is and the reach we've had, and really excited to join the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Indra. Looking forward to talking more about the work you're doing after the film. And next is Michelle Abel. Michelle Abel is the founder of Bridge to Future, a nonprofit whose primary mission is research, advocacy, and policy advice against generational trauma, intimate partner violence, and commercial sexual exploitation of women and children. Michelle is personally a survivor of familial trafficking and abuse. She has been providing direct support to victims and survivors and facilitating training on familial trafficking. Michelle has submitted briefs on this issue to different committees in the Canadian House of Commons, United Kingdom House of Commons, and the United States Congress. So I welcome Michelle up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rafaela, for that gracious introduction. It is an honor for me to attend Concordia on such an important workshop I will try to be mindful of what I share in the way in which I share information today pertaining to familial trafficking and aspects of abuse. At Bridge to Future, our main work is providing lawmakers with insightful research and policy advice on trauma. In 2021, I was invited by the RCMP to make a presentation to the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police on familial abuse and human trafficking. That was the first time that I had revealed in detail what abuse I had endured. During my abuse, images of me were taken. Until today, I do not know where they are or who has them. The project Arachnid offered to search for my images on the dark web. But due to concerns for my recovery process, I decided not to move forward with that yet. Since then, I've been conducting research on the impacts of intergenerational trauma, adverse childhood experiences, adverse adult experiences, coercive control, and victimization process, and what it takes to recover from trauma. I've integrated all these studies with my own lived experiences, and we currently at Bridge to Future are developing a trauma recovery program to assist others in their recovery journey. Presently, I'm helping victims and survivors of trauma in North and South America and in the Caribbean. I frequently attend a parent support group for parents whose daughters have been trafficked or are presently being sexually exploited. As you can imagine, kids' online safety is an important subject to me, not only by what they watch, but by the harmful dangers of self-generated exploitation. Predators look for vulnerable children, and their main tool is through social media platforms. Because our children imitate our behavior and their need to share everything on these platforms, this is actually what makes them quite vulnerable. It is imperative that we as survivors, parents, and concerned citizens take an active role in safeguarding our most vulnerable in society. There's nothing more precious than the innocence of children, and they have the right to be protected from harm, and it is our collective responsibility to ensure their safety. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Michelle. So we're now going to start watching this documentary. I'm very, very excited for you all to see this. I just want to acknowledge, first of all, that with World Children's Day, there are children all around the world right now that are being harmed, exploited. Violence is being done upon them. I'm thinking in Israel and Palestine right now. But we often can forget that online children can also be harmed. And this is a really important landscape that we often forget about. So with this documentary, we're going to see two filmmakers from New Zealand, my hometown, my home country, who really accidentally stumbled upon the biggest unheard conversation of our time while researching the pros and cons of handheld devices for their children. They stumbled upon this online world of porn and sexual predators and really went on this journey to discover how they could keep their children safe from it. The film does not include any porn footage or interviews with anyone from the porn industry, but it does contain some confronting images, so I just want to warn you. But I do feel it is done with a real heartfelt love for discovery and to really transmit this information. So I feel like it's still fun and enlightening as well as being serious. So I hope that you will enjoy it and that we can have a good conversation afterwards. Parents have a responsibility to protect their children from this. I thought maybe we could just sort of talk a little bit about that and how you felt, maybe if you are parents or if you're not, how you felt about that angle of the documentary.
Up, down.
We have so many layers. Look at the bag.
Yeah, so Michelle, would you like to?
Sure, I'd like to touch on that. You know, it's very difficult to watch a film like that. And not just from a survivor's perspective, but absolutely as a mother, as a woman, and as a concerned citizen, you know, what is happening within our society. And I do believe that we owe it to our children to protect them and do everything that we possibly can, and to be proactive in how we approach these situations. So I think it's really imperative that we continue to press upon our Parliament and ask for the necessary changes that, you know, will protect the rights of children. Sometimes we forget that children have rights, and they absolutely do. And it is our responsibility to ensure that they exercise those rights. And I'm sure that everyone in here will agree with me. So I hope I've covered that.
Yeah, thank you. Did you
like
to? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I have to admit that that was a very difficult film to watch as a new parent. So I have an 18-month-old son. And I realized in my work as well just how old I feel looking at that, and how fast the world has really changed. And parents are a group at our organization that we do engage with to some extent. So we do offer workshops and summer camps and things outside of school spaces, and a lot of the time that's parents who are signing up their children to come to some of our events. And I think one of the really important things for me is that parents are quite lost in all of this, even parents who are at the forefront of wanting to make change and consider ourselves to be fairly educated and have means. And so we always think about, imagine, you know, families that have just moved to Canada, new immigrants that are struggling with language and jobs and all of the other complications on top of this. So if we're feeling this way, and we're quite privileged, some of us, you know, imagine all of the difficulties beyond that. And I think, as you mentioned, it's a really important thing that, you know, the government obviously needs to engage in this conversation, and community really needs to engage in this conversation. And so for us, we talk about kind of it takes a village, but we're talking about mobilizing communities, because none of us alone actually have this level of knowledge. When you think about how much had to go into this film and the number of people behind it and their expertise, it's quite daunting for the average parent and average citizen. So how do we actually mobilize communities to be able to take action and protect each other's children, I think is quite important as well. So those were some of the thoughts I had around that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not just at the parliamentary level or at the education level. It's like all these different levels that are working together and emphasizing different aspects as well. Yeah. And with your work with digital movement, a lot of it is about kind of helping children have those like technological skills and empowering them to be more proficient with technology. How do you kind of see like how kids can contribute to this issue?
Yeah, I think this is a really important point. And even as I had mentioned, sort of the evolution of our organization over the last 10 years is sort of similar to the evolution of now, 2007, the smartphone came out, and we're only now realizing a lot of the impacts in 2023 on society from that. And we're also realizing the shift that we need to be making in order to have a voice in the protection of children alongside the digital skills and kind of technical focus that we've brought forward for them. And so some of the changes we've made strategically to our programming is to have youth voices at the center of everything we do. And we launched a new program with teens last year, because while we're very focused on young children and we start quite early, around 7 to 9 years old, the teenagers are in this gap generation that they've kind of been even more left behind, because we're going to the kids, but we're forgetting that they're the next generation who's already exposed and not maybe going to get any education through their teen years. And so we launched a social innovation lab program with them, where they're at the heart of the design of what we're talking about in that lab. And we did the first pilot this summer, and we brought in some different experts around social justice, and some of the topics we talked with them around AI and bias. So we talk a lot about data, which does cross over into the online space, giving your data, where's your data going, who has your data, and bias in data as well is a big thing for us. But sort of putting them at the heart of the design of, we want them to be in control, and having a voice about what they feel they need has been a part of the shift of our programming. And so I think that's also something we're seeing a lot from government funding in different areas, is that they want to see that youth are actually engaged in coming up with some of the solutions. And we had a very interesting conversation with them around social media preference bubbles. So that's kind of the world we play in, as far as we have not gone as far as into this space, but it is something that I obviously think about when I see this. But we did speak to them around, when you go and look at something now that you're self-selecting to get a lot of, the same videos, the same content. And so their worlds are also getting very small, which if in this example, if it's porn, now it's going to be everywhere they see on every device they see, because that's what the AI algorithm is now telling them they want to see more of. So I think there's something there that through educating them, we are trying to sort of touch on this. And I think it also came up in the video around, the protection is education, because if we just tell them, no, you can't have it, and all this is really brilliant to protect them, we know that, there are VPNs and there are ways around this. So we need to make sure that they are being educated on it, and how to control it themselves to some extent as well, I think.
Yeah, not letting it control them, but them having some kind of control over it and empowering them with that. Yeah. And Michelle, would you like to answer that? Yeah.
Well, so I just wanted to add, one of the things that we are seeing, of course, and the movie touched on that, is peer-to-peer grooming. And it's something that we just really haven't been discussing, but it is actually happening. And peer grooming, it can be recruitment for sexual exploitation, commercial sexual exploitation, but we don't often think about online porn. And so I can give an example that even up in the last week and a half, a situation came to me where a child in grade 4 was first introduced by a fellow grade 4 child and was shown pornography. But at that time, the little boy mentioned to him, "But I like you." And so it was very difficult for that child, from what I understand, that he did not only just watch male-female porn, but it progressed into male-on-male violent porn and also bestiality. And so when you see what harms that are actually happening to our children, and the level of conditioning that is going on within our school system, these are all aspects that we must address in trying to protect our youths and our children.
Yeah, I think they touched on the documentary, and we'll open it up to the floor maybe to have a conversation, but this idea of like normalization, and that these things for us, I think, seem so shocking, and like, how could this be happening? you talk about bestiality and this sort of hardcore stuff, but children are like kind of growing up seeing this and seeing this as a norm. Even the people they interviewed on the streets. How do we feel about this and this kind of new normal? And how can we educate the young people coming up that like this isn't actually normal? This shouldn't be the standard. Does anyone have thoughts, Penny? Yeah. Should we get a mic? Yeah.
I think one of the troubling things is that if we don't curb this and stop it, then it will be the norm, and violence against, but women predominantly, but not necessarily exclusively, is just going to become even greater. So, what we're looking at is critical, not just for the individual children's lives, but for our culture. We need a deep dive into what is driving that, can't remember her name, that came online yesterday, who proudly was talking about the wonders of Pornhub and how, yes. This is what we're looking at. The children are the victims, but society is also a victim, and our ignorance and apathy has helped create that. So unless we really, really invest in tackling this, then it's just more of the fabric of society breaking down. I'm not talking about maintaining sort of Victorian standards or anything like that. Life does evolve and change, but that does not. But when we objectify and we commodify relationships, those aren't relationships.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, Michelle.
And we tend to wonder, well, where is that responsibility? Where does that responsibility fall, and who does it fall upon? But we see that children, if you ask a child a name of a song or the lyrics to a song, and it can be so inappropriate, but a grade 2 kid would understand, oh, well, if I dance this way, if I sing a certain lyric, then that means I'm cool. And so they'll start mimicking that behavior, because children are that way. Like they will copy. Mm-hmm. But regarding Pornhub and various platforms, they have a corporate responsibility. And they're failing our children. And that's what we really need to understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think when pornography sites say, oh, well, we don't want children to access this. This is for adults. They have to remember that like the adults watching this are going to have children, and the children grow up and they're watching it. Like it's a cycle, it's a loop. And they need to think of the bigger picture. It's not, the children are going to see it no matter what, no matter how many things that they can put in place, and really understanding that it's sort of, it feels like they're deflecting a little bit, like, oh, if I say I really care, then you'll forget about us and you won't bother us anymore.
Yeah. Well, I personally feel that they deflect a lot, and in many aspects take zero responsibility. You can talk a good talk, but if you're not actually taking the measures to implement these safeties, then you are failing, and then that makes you complacent with everything that is harmful to our children.
Yeah. Yes.
So yes, if Pornhub cares about our children, they'll support Bill S-210, point blank, end of story. They want to have the industry do it, fine. I'm all for this block, that you get a phone and it's blocked and it has to be unblocked by an adult, fine. But that doesn't cover everything, and it doesn't put responsibility. I think yesterday, Keith was his name, answered that question very well. And that was, Michelle said, who should do this, about meaning protecting our children.
Yeah.
Well, I think the onus, of course, is not on the government. The government is an extension of the parents, have to help the parents, but the onus is on the parents. And what approach, Victorian, more loose, let each parent decide. But let's have the conversation with your children. And this is not easy.
Yeah.
I've failed myself.
Yeah.
I failed myself of being able to do it, honestly.
But, you know, just to add, we do need the government to implement the proper laws, right? And so therefore, they too play a pivotal role in this. And actually, Canada has some really great laws. The unfortunate part is that we are not upholding them. There are too many loopholes in our system, in our justice system, that are failing us and failing to protect these children and failing to protect women and girls that are being exploited for commercial gain. And, you know, if we were to even go further, we are being set up for health issues, mental health issues. This young man that I referenced, he's a young teenager. That's just one of many stories that, you know, we deal with. But when a child comes to you and says, and you know, I want to back up that this child actually went to his parents. How many teens are out there? How many minors are out there that are not going to their parents? They're actually turning to their peers who aren't equipped to give them appropriate support. But this young man did turn to his parents, and you know what? He couldn't take it anymore. He doesn't know what's going on in his mind. He can't sleep. He can't eat. He can't function. So you know what? Inevitably, with things that are happening in our platforms or on our platforms, we are setting up our society to fail and to face serious adverse health risks in their future.
I was going to say two things, and doesn't necessarily flow from what you're saying right now. One of the words we didn't hear yesterday was the word demand. Because without the demand, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be out there. And that's one of the things that scares me. And then the other thing I was going to talk about in terms of parents. There was a study done in the United States, and they gave a group of women a certain amount of money, and they were told to go out and buy. They all had the same amount of money to go out and buy an outfit for an 8-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy that would be appropriate to go to the park to play in. And without fail, the vast majority of outfits that the parents bought for the boys were baggy sort of cargo pants and a t-shirt and, you know, sneakers, a hat. And the girls, what the parents bought out of their own choice, because they've been conditioned as well, little, you know, high little, you know, tops, you know, the midriff open and super short shorts and sandals. Meaning the sandals don't make sense if they're going to the park. But, you know, the sexualization of children has been, you know, a feature even before the internet got going. So we really, this is a huge problem. And I totally agree with you about the Canadian government and the laws we have in place. I remember having a conversation, I'm going all over the map with different ideas here, sorry, but conversation with an RCMP officer, and they are not getting the directives from government. They have limited funding. I know it's not popular to talk about funding the police. Everyone wants to talk about unfunding the police, but they don't have the resources. And because we don't prioritize children and the issues around children, there's not the manpower. There just aren't the officers to go out there and do this kind of work, nor are they getting the training they need, nor do they necessarily have adequate funding for the type of technical systems they'd need to really look at what's happening on the internet. Anyway, that was it.
No.
I think it is a good point that we have to talk about funding, right? Because obviously if these porn companies are out there with capitalist complete access to as much funding as much money as they want to get their porn out. And I also question, to your point, the demand, like, I guess again, I'm feeling old, but I was quite shocked that that's what porn is today. It's beyond what society should really even have. Anyone should, for the most part, for anyone's adult mental health, should even absolutely have access to. I find that very damaging to think that that's now what we consider to be porn. To your point, that's normalized even for adults to think that's what porn is. But there is this necessary need for government funding for these kinds of things. So whether it's put to the education systems, or it's put to community centers, or it's put to police, I think all of those players play a role in this, because parents, as you said, we all need to be educated as well as parents, and to undo probably some of the things that we've created for ourselves over the years, or we've just not noticed how fast the world has changed since we were kids, and we don't even know that this is how the world works now. And that does take, I do believe it takes a lot of funding and government and a lot of different levels of organizations, as well as what Penny's work is, and I've been supporting that with the National Council of Women, and it's going to take a lot of different levels of people to be involved in this. And obviously, universities have the ability to educate future parents and future educators. So we also work with pre-service teachers as part of our work, because we're trying to reach teachers before they go into the profession. And I think there's some room there that, this kind of stuff could also be part of the education of pre-service teachers. I don't think most teachers know that their students are looking at this either.
Yeah. I think it's becoming more and more obvious that the adults need education about this, because we just don't know what's going on. Yeah.
And if I may add, so age verification is important, not only for porn websites, but also for social media and search engines. So I'm going to give you an idea of what we were able to pull. So in 2022, Facebook reports 73 million cases of child sexual abuse material, which is CSAM. YouTube, 310 million cases of CSAM. TikTok, 139 million cases of CSAM. These internet giants do that because the US federal government imposes steep fines, and if they do not comply with their laws. And to a certain extent, we also need to extend age verification laws to Google and any other search engines, because if you type in sex on Google search, it will show you 18.5 billion results in 0.33 seconds. And that is disgusting. I'm sorry, that is not acceptable. If you type in porn, it will give you 7.1 billion results in 0.21 seconds. And Pornhub appears at the top of your searches, along with 2 other ILO websites. So these are their top 10 searches. I think we've just ascertained that we have a serious problem. So
yeah, very serious.
So I wanted to bring up what Penny was mentioning, ending demand. And we have an end demand law, PSEPA, on prostitution. It's illegal to purchase sex and to sell sex. In Montreal, we still issue permits for erotic massage parlors. Totally going against the spirit of Bill C-36, PSEPA. There's no political will to act on this. There's tremendous hypocrisy. I know that Jennifer, who was here yesterday, goes and gives out information during F1 to inform people about this issue. I know Christine St. Pierre, member of the National Assembly, tried to lobby the federal government so that they would inform people in airports during F1 that it's illegal to purchase sex in Montreal. No collaboration, no response. So what message does that send to children when we tell them don't watch porn, but it's okay for, you know, this is okay. So we have a problem.
Absolutely.
Actually, as far as PASEPA, I don't, maybe I misheard you, but it's not illegal to sell. It's illegal to buy.
To purchase.
Yeah. Purchase. So the
That's
the
okay.
law, the moment it referred to, it's either the equity model or the Nordic model, but there is a really heavy duty movement here in Canada for complete legalization. Some countries have legalized it and claim that this has improved situations, but I don't hold with that one. In Germany, for example, that went ahead. The number of brothels sort of quadrupled, and the number of violent acts against women, particularly, just increased dramatically. But people should be aware that the current government is seriously looking into complete legalization. So it's something which, again, underscores this feeding of, being fed by demand. The age of a girl first being lured into prostitution in Canada is approximately 13 years of age. The average girl then will generate close to $280,000 a year. So that the process of luring, and you can jump in on this one, but the process of luring from a business model point of view, you spend a very little bit of money luring a girl in. You can take your time because you know you're going to make a potload of money. It's disgusting. And not $1 happens arrives in anyone's pocket unless there's a demand. We have a major, major problem on our hands.
Absolutely. And thank you, Penny, for, bringing that up because it's so important. I absolutely agree with the aspect of demand, but I also have to touch on the fact that if we did not have men selling us, there would be no demand. So you have to approach the situation from all spectrums. For me, being trafficked by family members and sold, they were the perpetrators. And whether I was sold to a stranger or to another family member, it didn't really matter. So, I can never just look at it from one lens and say, oh no, it's just demands. But we have to look at the total picture, and then we must come up with solutions, that will safeguard society, because it is a societal issue. But obviously, more importantly, protecting our children, because they're the most vulnerable.
Okay, so something we saw at the end of the movie, which was really interesting, that the movie makers, they have decided not to give smartphones to their kids, especially when they're outside home. And so nowadays, it might be a tough choice. So we all know parents who are really busy with their work or study. They have kids at home. So they just give the kids some device just to keep them busy. And maybe we cannot blame the parents because it's really tough. It's not only about time, it's also about affordability. Not every parent can afford to send kids to daycare or have a caregiver at home. So this is pretty common, just to give a gadget or a device or a tab to the kid and let them do whatever they do.
Right.
So you both being parents, also being very active in this area, any thoughts on that? What can be a better solution?
Honestly, my kid will probably hate me, and we battled. Anyone with with teenage kids, you know, the pressure is on for us as parents. I want a phone. But at the end of the day, you know, it's better to take the grief, I say, with them bugging you and you trying, you know, as much as possible to safeguard them and not actually give them a device. But I like the idea of the Nokia brick phone. I thought that was really excellent. And if I could turn back time, you know, because I have an adult daughter, but if I could turn back time, I probably, you know, would have said, yeah, okay, let me just give you a little something that you could actually keep in touch with me or feel safe. So I did give my daughter a phone because I traveled for my work, and it was a way for us to keep in touch. So I do see the pros and cons, but absolutely, if I had even thought about the Nokia, I would have given her that instead of something else that ultimately could put her at risk.
But then there's also the other factor that even if we choose not to give our children the phone, there's going to be other people and other children. And just in my experience babysitting kids is that, you know, I've had one of the boys I babysit, 9 years old, come home and say, oh, at school, this boy was showing me on YouTube, this, and this, and he's using language that he had never heard before, except from the kids around him. Yeah. And there is just that fact that other kids will influence.
And the peer pressure that they feel.
Yeah.
Know? And I remember my own child saying to me, they think I'm a baby because you won't give me. So they feel that pressure, and then they in turn bring that on you.
And then you can feel guilty.
Feel bad, but you're doing the best that you can to try to safeguard them.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
Yeah.
And I think even parents are feeling peer pressure in these situations as well. So I struggled with that. I love the idea of this not smartphone. Even for myself personally, I wish I could go back to the days when we didn't have smartphones sometimes. But the reality of it, I think, is quite hard. And even so, when we ran this kind of youth teen program, and I don't usually get that involved in going to our programming, but it was the new program and it was teens and I wanted to be there. And I thought I was being, you know, keeping up with them by saying we were going to create a WhatsApp group for all of us to talk in because we were going to go out for the day to Startup Fest and stuff. And already they were all like, oh, we're already all talking to each other through, you know, Instagram and Snap. I don't even know all of the things that they were doing, but within 1 minute, they'd all figured out how to find each other online and they were all talking to each other online. And so I think it's quite hard when you think about being a teenager and the drama of all of that, having friends and being connected, because you do want to just keep them safe. But the reality is when they go out and meet in groups, they don't even text message each other. They're all in these systems. And so how you navigate it, like I definitely agree with you. And I would like to think idealistically, we could say, oh, you can still have friends and still have a social life and walk around with this, you know, phone that only allows you to text and call me. How that's going to work? Are they going to get a phone elsewhere and they're going to do it themselves? I don't know, but I think we need to be a little bit realistic that they don't even use text messaging anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's the one like something Elo was proposing, like the policy will be on the devices. So the
Oh, you're talking about the internet service providers?
No, like the phone.
Oh, already locked.
Already locked?
And then if you're 18 and over, then you can have it unlocked.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To purchase them.
I think I understand that.
Facebook, yeah,
No.
all the major platforms, it doesn't stop
And also,
that.
if a parent
No.
is uneducated about this, they'll just unlock the phone. I think it comes down to we have to have these open, honest conversations with our children.
Absolutely.
And I love what they said of like, it's not if, but when, and we have to really have that hard conversation and tell them everything that we know so we can make them really prepared, so that because they will have to use WhatsApp and
Yes.
different things, especially in university when we have group projects and we're conversing on Facebook message or WhatsApp. They will eventually have to interact with them, but just making sure that they're prepared for that and they know all of the risks and the aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to add to that. I think one of the important things that we do with it is we talk to them about, these are commercial companies making money out of what they're doing when they create all of the social media and everything. And so I think it's just important for them to even know that, like, they don't really necessarily think about that, oh wait, this is a business behind that with profits and shares and people are making money out of me using it. And even just educating them on that, they might look at it differently on what they're going to say through these systems.
Definitely, they start to have that control over the application.
Yes.
There was that report that came out about Instagram and all of the investigations they did within their own company, and they showed that that young girls were using it and posting pictures, and that they even knew that the self-esteem dropped, and yet they kind of exploited that. And we saw Gail talking about the fact of like the selfie culture is making young girls become voyeuristic about their own bodies, and that hit me really hard. And just like even empowering those young girls to know that is what these companies are wanting and how they're exploiting them, so that yes, if they still use them, they come from a more like empowered, knowledgeable position when they're using that. Yeah.
So one good point that Indra made, that now that is the younger generation is so smart and they don't wait for us to communicate among themselves. So that was a very good example. Something we see here in this campus also. So there are so many apps, but there is one app, it's called Discord. I guess we know about that, which is now, I guess, one of the most popular apps among Gen Z. And in Instagram or Facebook, if you want to open an account, you need to at least put your email address. In WhatsApp or Viber, you need to put your phone number. So there is a way to at least check who this person is. But in Discord, they ask you for nothing. You don't need to put your email, no phone number. You just take any name you want. You go there. No one knows who you actually are. And I was so surprised that this is now the most popular app. And right here at Concordia, among our undergrads particularly, they are using it all through the year, the student clubs, the project groups, because they love this app. And initially, I asked this question that how do you feel it's secure? Because you don't know is this really your groupmate, or is it really your classmate or your friend? Because there is a nickname and you don't know, but they say, yes, we are managing it. So I really don't know what the solution is. Maybe India, you can add more on that. Like maybe there can be some device level policy or whatever, but yeah, it's really alarming. Thanks.
Yeah, so I know of Discord. I think a few years ago was when we first at our organization had heard about it. I think it started mainly with the gaming industry.
Yeah.
And I think that's who usually, was the first group who really got on Discord and started using it. I don't know enough about sort of beyond that aspect of it, so I can't really comment onto it too much, but I do know that there are a lot of young people in gaming that spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, thanks. And I guess 2 months back, there was the news. Pierre, do you know about that? Discord was actually sued because there were these materials. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Discord has been used for distributing child sexual materials. So, and again, is totally anonymous. So that was, we saw in the movie that there are 3 A's: accessibility, affordability, anonymousness. So here, anonymousness is just too much to take. So
well,
yeah.
even Azfar, when we had our Zoom,
Yeah.
Earlier in the year here, it was with a university in It was,
Yeah, it was my Concordia Zoom account, which was Zoom bombed.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
hacked.
it was hacked. We were having this kind of talk about online safety. I was out of Canada then, and Rafaela and Pierre, they joined from here. We had around 60 people, and out of nowhere, a stranger came and bombed us. So that
And
was really awkward
showed
moment.
pornography, and
Yeah,
it was really shocking. Yeah.
indeed. So, and
Yeah.
that was my Concordia Zoom accounts, which, and even then we had to recheck the security settings. So yeah, this is a continuous learning.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Jason Frost of wiredhuman.org. Jason and Lisa Frost are fantastic people. You know them, Jason and Lisa Frost, yes. And he said Gen Z, the new young people, are the loneliest generation, increased suicide, etc. But they were born in the internet, and he's optimistic that they're going to change things. They're going to become more savvy and be able to change things. So I hope he's right. I really appreciate Jason. He's a brilliant person. Wiredhuman.org. Be interesting.
I just want to continue what Azfar mentioned about being attacked on his Zoom meeting. And many of us that do this work and many survivors are attacked for the information that we put out. In the last couple of years, I can tell you that I've had pornographic content sent to me, fake profiles that tell me the nastiest things, that refer to me in all derogatory manner. And you know what? There are times as a mother, as a woman, that I do feel unsafe, and it's hurtful. And I mean, there's no way for me to really verify where that's coming from, because I'm sure they're using the VPNs and the fake profiles anyhow. But it's really sad that when we want to make a difference and we're trying our best to put ourselves out there, whether from a survivor's aspect or from an advocate perspective, we deserve to be protected as well. So in actuality, the safeguards that will go in place for our kids will in fact protect us as well. Yeah. And so I think this is something that we also don't really think about. But yeah, and it's increasing because people don't want you to share what is actually happening. They don't want to hear, what these platforms are doing. And sometimes I suspect that it's the actual platforms that have these people that just troll and bully you to silence you. So it's quite possible.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. I think that's a wonderful way to end, unless anybody has a last question or a thought. Yeah, us fighting to protect our kids is going to protect us as well. And I think that's a really great thought to keep in mind. So thank you, everybody, for your dialogue about this issue and for being here and showing that you stand with us on this issue.
Yeah, indeed. So,
and thank you, Michelle and Indra, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, all. I guess we had a lot of learning today. It's true that the movie was difficult to watch in most portion, but in the end, we can take away the learnings. And when we have people like Indra and Michelle here, so we can think about the positive part, like Indra and her organization, they do wonderful things for the kids. And there are devices which are good for the kids, like the microboard, kids learn programming and other stuff. So technology is not always bad. And same for Michelle, her learning, her experiences, and kids need to learn from the seniors. So that's really wonderful. And thank you so much, Indra and Michelle, for being here.
Thank you.
And Rafaela, thanks for always being here for us. So you have been one of the pioneers in this movement. So do keep it up. And thank you for the wonderful facilitation. So before we end, I would just like to share our recap of our ongoing events. So can we share the screen here now, the event page? Yeah, so, okay, maybe I should just move to the side so that people get a better view. So, or maybe I can stand. Yeah. So, as you know, we started our events yesterday with the panel session, and today is day 2, November 21st. So we had another wonderful talk, a movie show, and of course, we do have some artwork, which Rafaela, Juliana, and others designed. So please take this chance to express yourself. You can paint, you can do some art. Yes, okay. Then tomorrow and on Thursday, we have 2 online sessions. Those are in evening hours, so that we are expecting some parents to join there. The one we have tomorrow it will be in French tomorrow at 7 p.m. EST, and on the same one will be in English on Thursday, 23rd, 7 p.m. EST. On Friday, we are back to the campus. We will have a session in person on Friday afternoon. Here in Concordia, we have a daycare center, which is called the Concordia University Student Parents Center. So you all are welcome to join all of these events, and please share among your circles. And yeah, can we just go down a little bit? Yeah, just going down the page. Yeah, thank you. So I would like to express my gratitude to the Concordia School of Graduate Studies. They are sponsoring this whole event. Thanks to also our promotional partners. So yeah, a little bit downwards. So we have Penny here, the Montreal Council of Women and the National Council of Women. They have been helping us to promote the events. Yeah. So okay. Anyways, maybe that's the transaction. Yeah. All right, it's fine. Yeah. Okay, so thanks. So thank you for all those for promoting. Yeah, sure. Okay, it's okay. Also, we are thankful to other promotional partners, which include Cinema Politica, Charles 21, College Islamic Center, the English Montreal School Board. They all have promoted these events in their circles. And we are already getting very good responses yesterday and today, and we look forward for the same for the rest of the week. So from my end, thank you so much all. It's a big privilege to have you all here, especially to our speakers. And maybe Rafaela has some ending notes, so I pass to Rafaela.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that before you leave, we would love you to come over to our arts table where Monica will be there. I'll also be there. And we invite you to respond to what you've just seen in an artistic way. You don't have to be an amazing drawer. We've got different art supplies, collage, and we've created 3 murals and we want them to be community murals. We want you to take part and draw and in that way show your support to children. And then we've also got postcards on the table that we would invite you to think of an MP maybe in your area that you'd like to write a postcard to, demanding their support on this issue. Or it could be MindGeek, which are now called ALO themselves. I have addresses there, and we can write something to them, and we're gonna send them away. So yeah, please stick around and respond in that way. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you once again to everyone for coming into Fourth Space today, whether it be virtual or here in person. Thank you to our speakers today. Thank you, Michelle and Indra, for your insights, and thank you to Rafaela and Azfar for this conversation. We will be going ahead closing up the Zoom and the live stream, but as a quick reminder, you can revisit this conversation on our YouTube channel. We encourage you to join Azfar for the rest of the age verification events this week. So have a great evening, and we hope to see you at Fourth Space again soon.